So I finally sat down and read The Ring, The Man Who Beat the Man, issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics. Now, before I get to the actual comics, I have to admit something. One of the things I found most amusing about this project is the conversation surrounding it before it even came out. For years in comics, we've heard arguments like men can't write women, white creators can't write black characters, straight creators can't write LGBTQ characters. And yet, we have a boxing comic, a sport that has historically been overwhelmingly male, being produced by an almost entirely female creative team. You have Gail Simone writing, you have Elisa Romboli on the line art, and Iolanda Zanfardino on colors and letters. After reading issue 1, I don't think that matters at all, because the question isn't whether women can write boxing. The question is whether they can tell a good story. And after reading this first issue, I think there's definitely something here worth talking about. At its core, The Ring introduces us to Marcus. Marcus appears to be our primary protagonist, a boxer trying to rebuild his career and make a comeback. That's a familiar setup, and I don't mean that as a criticism. Comeback stories are part of boxing DNA. Rocky, Cinderella Man, The Fighter. The sport is built on stories about redemption. Gail Simone understands that. Marcus immediately feels like someone you're supposed to root for. He's flawed. He's trying to get back on where he once was. And that's enough to get readers invested. What surprised me, though, is that Marcus wasn't the character I kept thinking about after I finished the issue. That character was, in fact, Lisa Wolf. Lisa Wolf is a journalist, a younger reporter who operates in the modern media landscape. And what fascinated me wasn't what she does. It was how other characters described what she does. At one point, social media isn't presented as a tool. It's presented as a weapon. And that's a very deliberate choice of language. Think about it. A tool helps you do your job. A weapon changes outcomes. A weapon can hurt people. A weapon can destroy reputations. A weapon can win battles. And Cameron Dugan, the traditional writer for The Ring, which is in fact a magazine that exists in the real world, but this character obviously here is fictional, even he describes Lisa as a dangerous, almost like an assassin. Not because she's physically threatening, but because of the influence she has. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into this after one issue only, but this feels much more like Gail Simone's commentary on social media. Not as a neutral platform, not as a place where people simply communicate, but as something that can be used strategically, something that can elevate people or destroy them. And that's incredibly relevant to boxing. A fighter can spend years building a career, but one interview, one viral clip, one social media controversy, and suddenly everything changes. A boxer doesn't just fight opponents anymore. They fight narratives. They fight public perception. They fight algorithms. And if that's where this series is going, then The Ring may end up being about much more than just boxing. Let's talk about Elisa Romboli's artwork, because this book absolutely needs the right artist. A boxing comic lives and dies on movement. Punches have to feel real. The momentum has to feel real. The energy has to feel real. And for the most part, this comic absolutely delivers. The pages move, the characters move, the fight have weight. You can feel the motion from panel to panel. There are moments where you can practically hear the impact. That's exactly what a boxing comic needs. If this series had a stiff artist, the whole thing would fall apart. Fortunately, that's not the case here. However, I did notice one thing that pulled me off the story. The fight involving Volkov and Mariposa. Maybe some readers won't notice it, but I did. The sequence shows Volkov throwing what appears to be a right hand. The motion reads as a downward strike, but force is clearly moving from high to low. But then the reaction shot makes it look like Mariposa got hit with an uppercut. The movement doesn't match the punch. The impact direction doesn't match the setup. It's a small thing, but combat storytelling relies on visual logic, and boxing fans tend to notice that stuff. It's not enough to draw a cool punch. The reaction has to match the mechanics. Again, it's a minor complaint, but it stood out because the rest of the art is so strong. Anyway, the biggest surprise for me after finishing this issue is this. I went into the comic expecting a boxing story, and I got one. Marcus is compelling. The comeback story works. The fights are entertaining. The art is excellent. But the thing that stayed with me wasn't the boxing. It was Lisa Wolf. It was the discussion around social media. It was the idea that controlling the narrative can be just as important as winning the fight. And maybe that's the point. Maybe Marcus is fighting inside the ring while Lisa is fighting outside of it. One uses fists, the other uses information. One uses gloves, the other uses social media. In today's world, both can be equally dangerous. That's why I'll definitely will be back for issue 2, because right now, the ring isn't just asking who wins the fight. It's asking who controls the story. And that might be the most interesting battle. But anyway, this is my thoughts on The Ring, The Man Who Beat the Man, issue 1. Have you read it? Did you agree with the way social media was portrayed? Did that Volkov versus Mariposa sequence bother you as much as it bothered me? Let me know down below. And if you enjoy comic reviews, industry analysis, and conversation about what comics are actually trying to say beneath the surface, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.